saw you as a political person, because every so often I'll get heated up under the collar, and you would be so easygoing, so neutral. And today when you walked in, because this is our green room and our studio, and Scotty says occasionally we'll get involved with politics, and being that it's on the air all the time now, recently with the caucuses and so forth. How did you feel in that movie playing? Well, it's the left, right? You were basically.
Yeah, he's a lawyer for Al Gore, and certainly because it's written by people who are of that persuasion, I think I can say that it's from the point of view of Al Gore, but it's from Ron Klain, who worked for Al Gore. But I think they give a very fair representation of the facts of what James Baker went through, and what Mr. Ginsburg went through, and all the different people, Catherine Harris, and the things that she had to decide. I think it's very fair, and we'll see when it comes out how it's edited and everything, and I assume that will be the case. But it's the facts as I understand them, so I don't think you can argue with that. The people probably will anyway.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Leave it to O'Reilly or even Rush. They'll put their 2 cents into it.
Right.
Well, it's been pretty well documented that there was monkey business with that election. I'm sorry, is it
certainly was in my opinion.
2000.
Yeah, in the year 2000, it certainly was. There was some things that are kind of judgment call things. The butterfly ballots. Was that misleading? I don't think that was intentional with the butterfly ballot, but people, you had to assume that people who were Holocaust survivors voted for Pat Buchanan. That was kind of a stretch, to take that stretch. Then the other thing, there was lots of people, the kind of smoking gun of chicanery, if you will, and a funny business was an email sent where they were starting to purge people from the voting rolls.
The caging lists.
Right,
right,
exactly. And
which the Republican Party is more or less on parole for doing in the 80s, I believe.
I didn't know that. That's news to me.
The Republican Party is prohibited from doing caging and these type of, it's not election fraud, yeah. And they've done it again.
What happened in 2000, and there's an email sent by someone who was a Republican strategist, I believe, who said, hey, we want to go beyond the normal pale of what we would do with the people who are, kind of relative matches. So Willie D. Whiting, is a felon, but William something, a entirely different middle name would be eliminated from it. He's a pastor,
right.
Right. And it wasn't like William D. anything. It was Robert Whiting or something. It was a very different name. And he was...
But he was probably black.
Yes, he was. He was an African-American man, and he was purged from the voting rolls. So there was a lot of loosey-goosey with that. And then there was, in my neighborhood, if a black and white car comes up and is near the polling place, they go, oh, how nice, there's security there to keep things orderly. Other people were like, whoa, they're trying to keep me from the polls. They had a very different reaction to something in that neighborhood. There's going to be trouble. I don't want to go into the polls. There were extremely long lines in places where there were very short lines in other neighborhoods, let's say. There were different voting machines from district to district.
Right.
People had other very easy to use. Other ones were clogged with Chad, so they couldn't get the thing through. But hey, who can't press a thing through and vote? Well, they couldn't press through because it hadn't been cleaned a long time, and you couldn't press it through.
Right.
So that's why they tried to count dimple Chads. And the point that my character makes, David Boies, and I argue it successfully in the Florida Supreme Court and unsuccessfully at the U.S. Supreme Court, is that it's long been Florida law that the intent of the voter should be counted. Right. If somebody just marks an X on a thing, they're supposed to write their name. And even though they mark an X, they go, look at the ballot, even though this guy didn't follow the instructions, we have to, it's Florida law, go for the intent of the voter. And that they didn't do that.
Right.
This was a case that many argued shouldn't have been through the U.S. Supreme Court. It was decided in the Florida Supreme Court. It's state business, but the election was certified, some feel prematurely, by Catherine Harris. She certified it even though the recount hadn't fully occurred. So there's lots of interesting stuff.
And the Supreme Court ultimately ruled that going through with this election would irreparably harm George W. Bush.
Right.
And that was the basis for their ruling.
Exactly right. Irreparable harm. Very good. He knows his stuff.
Yes, which more or less admits that they suspected the outcome would be against him.
Right. How could, to have a full recount would cause irreparable harm.
Yes.
And that was an interesting decision.
And I guess one of the attorneys that was down there working feverishly to push this through was John Roberts.
That's a familiar name. Yeah.
Yeah. He's on the Supreme Court now.
Right.
That's
That's
right.
right.
That's right. He
That's
is
right.
on the Supreme
The other
Court.
interesting thing about the U.S. Supreme Court decision was normally when they make a decision, Brown v. Board of Education, Roe v. Wade, those are literally, by their very nature, Supreme Court decisions precedent setting.
Right.
They're known
Yes.
to, it's a precedent that you refer to, people refer to in law books 100 years from now,
Yes.
what have you. They said, we're going to make this decision, but this is for this one time only. This is not a precedent. It's like, what?
Yeah.
I thought that's what you do. It's
Yeah,
part of
right.
the deal. If
Yeah.
you make it, it's only for this one, not in 2004. Anyway,
Right.
because they didn't want it to bite them in the ass, I guess. I don't know.
yeah,
And they normally have one of the justices come down and give the decision. Hi, I'm Justice Berger. I'm blah, 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 and I want to give the decision. They didn't. They sent a clerk down to give
did
the
they?
decision to the press.
I didn't know that.
That's what I had heard. I don't know. We don't have footage of that. I'm not suggesting we show that, but a friend told me that.